Hi, this is Roger Conrad. I'm Senior Strategist of Portfolio 2020. By now, you should have taken a look at the portfolio article which I posted this week, basically giving a wrap-up of the earnings of our underlying holdings. And as you can see, most of these companies have posted pretty good results in the fourth quarter, even those that were maybe a little bit on the disappointing side, nonetheless, continue to point the way to long-term growth, some pretty bullish guidance going forward from those points, and again, every reason for a long-term investor to hang in there with them. On the other hand, as we've seen, prices of stocks have been all over the board the last couple of weeks. In fact, in many cases, we've seen individual stocks fluctuate 5–10% even more in a single day, and that's, of course, unnerved a lot of people. People remember late 2008 when down moves of 10% and more in a single stock were certainly not uncommon. And in fact, we saw this day after day after day, this kind of hammering action of prices coming off. Since then, though, the good stuff has rallied. The good stuff has come back, even in the worst aftermath of the worst credit crunch in 80 years, one of the worst recessions in decades. The good stuff, the good companies, the companies that weren't over-leveraged, the companies that had tied their fortunes to these transcendent trends that we're trying to pick up here, in Portfolio 2020, they came out okay. In fact, for the most part, have generated some pretty outstanding returns. So again, some of these have backed off, but we would encourage people, again, if you're light in them, to take a look and pick some of these things up. We're certainly looking at very good prices now for a number of our holdings, particularly in the alternative energy area. One company that caught my attention in particular, and it's written up again in that portfolio article, is Ormat Technologies. New York Stock Exchange symbol ORA, and had a fairly good quarter, and has continued to sign on more customers to its geothermal business. Just inked a very nice contract with NV Energy, the utility serving Nevada. What's happened with the stock? Well, it's backed off quite a bit. One reason being that the public ardor with renewable energy has somewhat cooled off in the wake of the collapse of the Copenhagen Accords, or the talks there, the failure to produce an accord, and the collapse of cap-and-trade legislation in the United States. I would urge people, though, at this point to really take a second look at these things. There actually is cap-and-trade, not cap-and-trade, but carbon regulation legislation, or at least carbon amelioration legislation moving through the U.S. Congress right now, and has some bipartisan support. And after the health care bill passing, the president does have some more credence on this issue. So it's not entirely impossible that we'll see some legislation this year revived that does extend advantages to renewable energy companies on the federal level, even as they continue to enjoy on the state level, where we see mandates in place requiring utilities to use a certain amount of energy from renewable sources within the next 5–10 years. Some of them are very much rolling scales that require some pretty massive investment, just even in the next 2 to 3 years. So this industry is far from dead, and in fact, the spending continues, the mandates continue, and in fact, we may see a very significant catalyst for these companies, ranging from nuclear power to geothermal to wind. The catalyst being, again, stirring legislation in Washington, which again, certain parts of that do enjoy considerable bipartisan support. Of course, they're very strongly supported by industry. Even Exxon sent a recent letter out to shareholders, for example, talking about the future of natural gas as really being where America's energy future lies. They've obviously have a self-interest now, having they're almost have finished acquiring XTO Energy and dramatically increasing their intake of natural gas. But it just shows you that, again, this is not a dead issue, and renewable energy is very much in the growth, in the sweet spot for growth going forward, and promises to be in the limelight again. And we have an opportunity to buy now at good prices, which is the real key to building wealth long term. So thanks for tuning in. I look forward to speaking with you next time.